Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Regulatory Buzz. My name is Baxter Hines. I'm the Chief Investment Officer with Honeycomb Digital Investments, and today is April 19th, 2022. And I am honored to be with Professor Carol Goforth of the University of Arkansas. How you doing, Carol?
I'm doing well. Nice to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. The year is flying by. I can't believe we just passed tax day yesterday, and just seems like the days keep moving on, and the news flow in the digital asset space, it's been coming along as well. On the last episode, we talked about BlockFi and the $100 million fine that it was receiving for some of the practices that it had taken on in regard to lending and promising certain rates of return based on crypto assets and stable coins and the like. Well, there's been more announcements in that respect. We've seen Voyager and others. I'm hearing Celsius could potentially be next on the list of targets. What are you making of all of the news that's coming out from Washington and from other state governments around the world in the lending space?
Yeah, I am rather distressed by the focus on some of these lending products. One of the things that troubles me about the emphasis on regulating and requiring registration of crypto lending products, such as the Coinbase Lend, the BlockFi BIAs, is that in essence, we have a regulator, the SEC, who is saying these are too risky for American investors. And I really think that is going beyond the mission of the SEC, or what the mission should be. And if we are willing as investors to accept a higher degree of risk in exchange for the historical likelihood of a higher rate of return, that ought to be available to us, as it is in much of the rest of the world. You'd mentioned Voyager. That is another platform that offers crypto lending products, and I think that there's good reason to suspect that the SEC will be interested in them, because there have been a number of recent announcements from state regulators initiating cease and desist or show cause orders, suggesting that under the state securities laws, those are also likely to be securities. And as you mentioned, Celsius has also been on the chopping block for state regulators. So what I am concerned about is that this reaction, which is these are securities, comes without any clear guidance of why they are securities. I think we still do not know, even after carefully reading the BlockFi order from the SEC, if they were really relying on the Reeves family resemblance test and treating those as notes, or if it was really an investment contract under Howey, or both, or under some other test. We have no judicial confirmation that either of those approaches are right, or that the SEC is applying the tests correctly. But the SEC has so much in the way of resources that it is very hard for these platforms to challenge, and then very hard for them to last all the way up through an appeal. So we have an administrative agency that, even if you credit them with the best of motives, that we need to protect the American investor, honestly, as it looks against the companies, the SEC is acting like a bully.
Yeah, there's that old saying that the process is the punishment, meaning that even if you get off scot-free, the fact that you had to go through all of the trials and the whatever it might be, the depositions, whatever issues that are needed to settle things, it's too much for a lot of the smaller companies and the innovators that are out there in the digital space to handle. And so we definitely need to get some more clarity as to avoid those kinds of just potential fears and issues that could arise if someone wants to make a new type of lending product. Carol, let me ask you this also, that a lot of the underlying assets that are being lent on with BlockFi and Voyager and some of these others were around the stablecoins. How much scrutiny or how does that play into the SEC's decision to come after these entities? Do they frown upon these stable coins, or what do you think is sort of their take on that at this point?
I think that we have some very vague pronouncements from the chair, Gary Gensler, that suggests that he thinks stable coins are within the SEC's remit. I do think it is difficult to make a sustained argument that people buy stable coins with the expectation of profiting. By their very nature, they are designed to have a stable price. But at the same time, if you look at the analytics information that comes out of firms like Chainalysis or CipherTrace, they suggest that one of the areas where there is the biggest potential for fraud and abuse right now is in fact in the area of stablecoins, that there is a fair degree of hype and misrepresentation, and that is an area of growing concern. And you saw in the President's Working Group in their report from back near the start of the year that is an area where the experts believe additional regulation and oversight is needed. So could that be playing into the need to regulate? Yes, I think it's unfortunate if you look at why out of all of the companies that are out there that are playing in the lending space is the first one you go after, Coinbase, which is a public reporting company, and you have access to their financial information, and you kind of knew more about what you were getting would have been getting with them. And they were not a small company, but the process resulted in them abandoning their Coinbase Lend product before it ever hit the market, before American hodlers of Bitcoin and other crypto and the U.S. Dollar coin, before they ever had an opportunity to make interest payments to earn on their deposits. And I think that's unfortunate too, that you'd pick on the most compliant, the most regulated first, and still not give an explanation of why or how.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the regulators may just want to get the headline out there that they went after Coinbase, a well-known entity, as opposed to going after the right entity. Who knows? But what's undeniable is the growth of these stable coins have just gotten so, it's been so astronomical in lots of ways. I mean, I started dealing with them probably in 2019. I don't know, there were maybe $2 billion worth or maybe even less when I first got into that market. Now you're talking over 100 billion easily. And some of the products that are out there are getting, for lack of a better word, more creative. The first ones that I saw were designed to be just simple stable coins that were backed by a dollar or a yen, a euro, whatever it might be. Now we're having these algorithmically backed stable coins, the most known one being UST, the Luna, Terra Luna product, now 17 billion. And one of the things that I would say that could be putting these kinds of products in the regulators' crosshairs is that if, as the executive order that the Biden administration put out, there were to be a central bank digital currency issued, me with my background and just thinking about things from a just a fundamental basis, I would rather have something that has the guarantee of the U.S. government as opposed to, a bank or an algorithm. And so I would imagine that people would start selling those algorithmically backed stable coins, the bank-based stable coins, or redeeming them, so to speak, to get into the CBDC because there's no credit risk with it. And that could create in and of itself a cascade of selling. And there's so much money now, again, 100 billion plus tied up in these things that maybe the government sees it as restricting their movements to making the CBDC. I don't know. I'm speculating. But what we do know is that there's going to be more and more headlines around these topics. It's only going to be more present over time as the digital aspects of blockchain continue to get deeper into the financial community. So with that, I think we'll wrap up this episode. And I want to thank you for being here today, Carol.
My pleasure, as always.
I enjoyed it as well. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.